What if I told you that one of the most popular anime of all time wasn't really about fighting? What if Dragon Ball Z, the show you grew up watching, screaming at the TV because Goku was charging a spirit bomb for 6 episodes, what if that whole show was actually a spiritual blueprint? Chakras, Kundalini, shadow work, Zen meditation, alchemy, all of it hiding in plain sight between the explosions. Stay with me. So look, I'm not saying Akira Toriyama sat down and said, I'm going to encode the entire Eastern spiritual tradition into a cartoon about buff guys yelling. Maybe he did, maybe he didn't. But the symbolism is there, and once you see it, you can't unsee it. Let's start with the most obvious one. 7 Dragon Balls, 7 chakras. Coincidence? Think about what happens in the show. You have to go find all 7. They're scattered, they're hidden, and nothing happens. Nothing until you bring them all together. That's literally the spiritual journey. Your root chakra, your sacral, your solar plexus, heart, throat, third eye, crown, each one represents a piece of you. Your body, your emotions, your willpower, your love, your voice, your vision, your spirit. And when they're out of alignment, you feel it, you're lost, you're searching. But when you gather all 7, when you align, the dragon wakes up. And what is that dragon? Shenron, a massive serpent coiled in the sky, awakened only when the 7 spheres come together. Now, in Hindu and yogic tradition, there's this concept called Kundalini. It's described as a coiled serpent sitting at the base of your spine. And when your energy centers align, when you do the work, that serpent rises through all 7 chakras. And when it reaches the crown, awakening, power, transformation. Sound familiar? Shenron doesn't just show up. You have to earn him. You have to go on the journey, face the dangers, gather the pieces. And then, and only then, does the serpent rise and you get to make your wish. But here's the deeper part. The wish isn't really coming from the dragon. The power was always inside. The dragon is just what it looks like when you finally unlock it. Now let's talk about the man himself. Goku, his original name, Son Goku, which is literally the Japanese name for Sun Wukong, the Monkey King from Journey to the West, one of the most important spiritual texts in Chinese literature. And here's where it gets even deeper. Sun Wukong, the Monkey King, scholars have debated for years whether that character was influenced by Hanuman, the Hindu monkey god. It's not a simple copy-paste, but the echoes, they're loud. Hanuman, divine strength, absolute devotion, mischief and playfulness, but underneath, unshakable spiritual power. That's Goku. Tell me that's not Goku. He starts wild, he starts primal, tail and all, literally a monkey boy raised in the mountains, no education, no sophistication, just instinct and a pure heart. And the whole series is him ascending through training, through suffering, through death, multiple deaths, through love and loss and discipline. The monkey doesn't stay a monkey, the monkey becomes a god. That's the archetype, that's the path. Now, the Z in Dragon Ball Z, the show never really explains what it stands for. But let's play with it. Z Zen. Because what are these fighters actually doing? Yeah, they throw punches. But look at how they train. Meditation, stillness, breath control, energy manipulation, sensing ki, which is literally life force energy. The same concept as chi or prana. These aren't just martial artists. These are monks with muscles. And what are they really fighting? Think about every major arc. It's never just a villain. It's fear. It's ego. It's rage. It's attachment. It's the terror of death. It's pride telling you you're not strong enough, or pride telling you you don't need anyone else. Every fight in Dragon Ball Z is an inner fight wearing an outer costume. Speaking of costumes, let's talk about the villains. Because each major villain in DBZ represents a specific shadow that the heroes have to face. Not just physically, spiritually. One of the biggest villains is Frieza. Cold, calculating, sits on a throne while others do his dirty work, destroys entire planets because he can, enslaves whole races. Frieza is tyranny. He's the false god. Intelligence without compassion, power without love. He's what happens when someone has all the ability in the world and zero spiritual evolution. He's the ego that says, I am the center of the universe and everything exists to serve me. And what does it take to beat him? Not strategy, not technique. It takes Goku breaking through, emotionally, spiritually, into Super Saiyan. You don't beat the tyrant with a better plan. You beat the tyrant by becoming something the tyrant can't comprehend. Now Cell. Cell is different. Cell is artificial perfection. He literally absorbs other beings to become complete. He takes from everyone, steals their techniques, their power, their identity, and calls himself the perfect being. That's ego in its most evolved form. The ego that doesn't just dominate, it consumes. It says, I don't need to create anything original. I'll just take the best of everyone else and call it me. And Cell's weakness? He can't handle something genuine. Gohan, a kid who doesn't even want to fight, who has no ego in the battle, is the one who destroys him. Authenticity kills the counterfeit. Majin Buu. Buu is chaos, pure, unfiltered, unconscious energy. He's childish, he's hungry, he destroys things and doesn't even understand why. He shapeshifts, he throws tantrums, he's almost impossible to kill because how do you kill something that has no form? But here's the beautiful part. Buu gets split. The evil is literally separated from the innocent. Good Buu and evil Buu. And the good part? He gets redeemed. He becomes a friend. That's shadow work. You don't destroy your darkness. You separate it from your light. You face it and you integrate what can be saved. The darkness isn't all bad. It's just unconscious. It needs awareness, not annihilation. Alright, now we get to the transformations. And this is where it gets really good. Because every Super Saiyan level, that's not just a power boost, that's a spiritual initiation. Super Saiyan 1, awakening through pain. Goku doesn't unlock it in a training room. He unlocks it watching his best friend die. Rage, grief, love, all of it collides at once and something cracks open. That's how real awakening works, isn't it? Nobody meditates their way into their first breakthrough. Something breaks you, and in the breaking, something deeper comes through. Super Saiyan 2, the hidden power unleashed. This one belongs to Gohan, a kid, a child who never wanted any of this. But Cell pushes him so far, threatens everything he loves, that the lid comes off. Super Saiyan 2 is the inner child, finally erupting. It's all that dormant potential you've been sitting on your whole life. The power everyone else could see, but you kept burying because you were afraid of it. And then one day something pushes you past the point of no return, and boom. Super Saiyan 3, raw power, no balance. This one's interesting. Super Saiyan 3 is the most intense form, but it's also the most unstable. It drains your energy. You can't hold it for long. It burns through your body. That's the spiritual lesson. Raw force without integration is self-destructive. You can have all the power in the world, but if your vessel isn't ready, it'll tear you apart. Super Saiyan God, divine alignment. Now this is a shift because Super Saiyan God isn't achieved through rage. It's achieved through ritual, through unity. 5 Saiyans pour their energy into one. It's communal. It's sacred. It's not I'm angry enough. It's we're connected enough. That's a whole different level of consciousness. That's moving from individual willpower to collective spiritual energy. Ultra instinct, the highest state, and then ultra instinct. The body moves before the mind thinks. No ego, no hesitation, no separation between thought and action. You don't decide to dodge, you just dodge. You don't plan the counter. Your body is already there. That is Zen. That is Taoism. That is Wu Wei. Action without action. The martial arts masters talked about this for centuries. The state where the self dissolves and you become pure response. Goku doesn't reach ultra instinct by getting angrier. He reaches it by letting go, by emptying himself completely. That's the final lesson. The highest power isn't about adding more. It's about removing everything that's in the way. Now, we just spent all that time talking about individual power-ups, going Super Saiyan, pushing past your limits, digging deeper into yourself. But the Spirit Bomb flips all of that on its head. Think about what Goku actually does when he uses it. He stops fighting. He stands still. He raises his hands to the sky and he asks. He asks the trees, the ocean, the animals, the people, the planet. He says, and I need you to hear this, he says, lend me your energy. That's not a warrior technique. That's a prayer. The Spirit Bomb is collective consciousness made into a weapon. It's every living thing on the planet and sometimes beyond the planet choosing to pour a piece of their life force into one unified purpose. It's not Goku's power, it's everyone's power. He's just the vessel. And here's the part that gets me every time. He can only hold it if his heart is pure. A corrupt soul can't even touch it. The energy of the universe doesn't respond to ego, it responds to purity. You know what that sounds like? That sounds like the difference between forcing your will onto the world and surrendering to something bigger than yourself. Every spiritual tradition has a version of this. The idea that the most powerful force isn't something you generate, it's something you receive. You open yourself up, you become the channel, and the universe moves through you. And look at the image. Arms raised, open palms, face to the sky, completely vulnerable. That's not a fighting stance, that's a worship posture, that's surrender. The Spirit Bomb is what happens when the individual ego dissolves and the warrior becomes a vessel for collective divine energy. Every Super Saiyan form says, I found more power inside myself. The Spirit Bomb says, I am nothing without everything else. Both are true. That's the balance. Quick one, but it's important. The hyperbolic time chamber. 1 day outside, 1 year inside. Total isolation. Harsh conditions. Nothing but you. The emptiness and whatever you brought in with you. That's a spiritual retreat. That's the monastery. That's the vision quest. That's the cave that every hero in every tradition has to enter. alone, to face themselves. You don't grow in comfort, you grow in the chamber. The Saiyans are warriors by nature, aggressive, instinctual. They live for the fight. They literally get stronger every time they almost die. The Zenkai boost. Now that's primal survival energy. That's the beast. And in a lot of spiritual traditions, the beast isn't evil, but it has to be refined. That's alchemy. You take the base metal, the raw, violent, instinctual self, and you transmute it into gold, into something divine. Goku doesn't reject the Saiyan in him. He doesn't pretend he's not a fighter. He channels it. He takes that primal fire and turns it into something that protects instead of destroys. And the tail, the great ape form, that's the lower animal nature, literally triggered by the moon, by unconscious forces. When Goku loses the tail, that's him gaining control over the primal self. But later, and this is key, the show teaches that the primal self isn't something to hate, it's something to master. You don't kill the monkey, you evolve it. Vegeta might be the most important spiritual journey in the whole show, and nobody talks about it enough. He starts as pure ego. I am the prince of all Saiyans. Bloodline, superiority. He believes he deserves power because of who he is by birth. And he's miserable. Even when he gets stronger, he's miserable. Because ego is a prison. You can be the most powerful person in the room and still be suffering if your identity is built on comparison and pride. Vegeta's real transformation isn't Super Saiyan. It's not even Super Saiyan Blue. His real transformation is the moment he learns humility, family, sacrifice. The moment he stops trying to surpass Goku and starts trying to protect something. That's the death of spiritual arrogance. And it's one of the most human arcs in all of anime. Two quick ones to round it out. Gohan is dormant divine potential. He doesn't seek power. He doesn't want to fight. But his power shows up when something innocent is being threatened. He's the part of you that you didn't even know was there. The hidden genius, the sleeping giant that only wakes up when love is on the line. Piccolo is the shadow turned guardian. He literally starts as a demon's offspring. He's born from darkness. But through his connection with Gohan, through caring for someone other than himself, he transforms into a protector, a teacher. That's the lesson. Your shadow isn't your enemy. It's your unintegrated self. And when you face it, when you connect with it, it doesn't destroy you. It becomes your greatest strength. One more thing, and this might be the most important. Characters in DBZ die. A lot. But death is never the end. They go to other worlds. They train with King Kai. They get stronger. They come back. That's not lazy writing. That's a spiritual principle. Death is initiation. The old self has to die for the new self to emerge. And the other world, that's the astral plane. That's the spirit realm. That's the space between lives where the soul keeps learning. You've heard the phrase, die before you die. That's what DBZ is showing you. Over and over again. So here's the summary, and I want you to really sit with this. The 7 Dragon Balls are your 7 chakras. Shenron is your Kundalini, the serpent energy coiled inside you, waiting to be awakened. Goku is the divine monkey warrior, rising from primal instinct to godhood. The Z Fighters are Zen Warriors, spiritual athletes battling ego, fear, and shadow. Every villain is a shadow you have to face. Every transformation is a level of consciousness. Every death is a rebirth. And every single battle, every single one is really the soul fighting to remember what it already is. Dragon Ball Z isn't a show about fighting. It's a show about waking up. If this hit different, share it with someone who grew up on DBZ and never saw it this way. And let me know, what other anime do you want me to break down like this? Because trust me, they're all hiding something. Peace!